Welcome back, Goober. Pistol rounds are funky. You get $800, a sidearm that feels like a Nerf gun compared to rifles, and the chance to increase the odds of you winning the match to 74%. In this video, I'm going to dive into what you should be buying on pistol rounds based on data I got from pro matches, how you should think about these rounds strategically, and how you can just get more kills in these pistol rounds. But first, this video is sponsored by a monkey, and he wants a quick chat with you. Skins Monkey is a trusted automated CS2 trading site. It's super easy to use. All you have to do is pick something in your inventory, check how much it's worth, and then go get something new from the monkey. What's also super nice is the filters you can use to narrow down your searches. You can either use your skins to trade for new ones or deposit money with their 30% bonus offer. This becomes 35% when you use my code Wilson. Please use it. Using my code, you can also get up to $5 for free. Use my code Wilson, link is in the description. Thank you, monkey. Okay, so what's important to buy on pistol round? It seems like a really simple question, but holy moly, is it important. You are only given $800 to buy silly, fun, cool things with. This specific amount of money leaves you with essentially three options. You can 1, buy armor, and maybe a decoy if you want one too. Number 2, you can purchase an upgraded pistol plus a little bit of util. And number 3, you can buy a full $800 worth of util or util plus a kit. Now, $800 is an interesting amount of money because it doesn't afford you a full belt of util, meaning that whatever util you buy, you're probably foregoing a different piece of util, which means that there are different combinations that you can buy that all have their kind of pros and cons to them. You have a ton of options, but most commonly you'll see people buy armor. And here's why. Because both teams' starting pistols have really low armor penetration, having armor makes a huge difference. If you have armor and I'm close range with a Glock, it would take me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bullets to the chest to kill you. Whereas if you don't have armor, it only takes 1, 2, 3, 4. Huge difference, right? And even to the stomach, it's fewer. 1, 2, 3. That's all it takes if you don't have armor. And because the USP has a higher base damage than the Glock, it only takes 1, 2, 3 shots to the chest against somebody who doesn't have armor to kill them. Whereas with armor, it would take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullets. Dying in half the number of bullets needed already sucks, but when you add in the factor of aim punch, not having armor really sucks. Another really important thing to note is that there are multiple ways you can spot an opponent that doesn't have armor. In CS2, when you hit an opponent, your headphones makes a little sound regardless of how far away they are. When you hit somebody with armor, it sounds more like a dull thud. However, when you hit somebody without armor, it sounds more liquidy and gushy. The second way you can tell somebody doesn't have armor in a pistol round is if they have an upgraded pistol. Now, this is somewhat unreliable since it's possible someone without armor dropped them the pistol, but in pugs where people are playing with random teammates, it's more often true than not. The third way you can tell is if they used utility, right? If a CT smokes off a choke point, then you know at least one CT on this site doesn't have armor. Because of all of these factors, foregoing armor can be a huge risk. One argument people make against buying armor is that players are aiming at the head anyways, and while yes, this is true, I just don't think it's that great of an argument because this is also true for every round of Counter-Strike ever. Against better players, they will notice the signs that you don't have armor and they'll just body shot you to death. And especially against a Glock, even if your opponent is aiming for your head, it's really likely that they just accidentally shoot your body instead, or if they're just spamming at you panicked, you're gonna die so quickly without armor. And even if you don't die from the body spam, then it's going to cause aim punch when they hit you in the body, which makes your shots harder to hit and gives your opponents time to hit a headshot on you. However, buying util on pistol round has some huge benefits as well. One really interesting part of pistol round is the lack of utility. This lack of utility on pistol rounds means that utility holds a lot of value, not only because your team is likely scarce in util, but also because the other team likely doesn't have that much counter utility. To illustrate this, let's consider a jungle smoke on Mirage in a gun round versus a pistol round. In a full buy versus full buy round, I have utility, and that utility then allows me to do things that can counter the smoke. For example, I can HE the smoke. Me and my team can fight the T's as they cross into sight. If I have a molly and a nade, I can molly default box, and then I can nade it, and maybe I'll kill the plant or at least delay the plant. If I still have my smoke, I can throw a lurk smoke out in front of this smoke and then fight behind it, giving me cover to peek and take fights. And if I have flashbangs, I can flash through it, right? I can right click a flash, bang, and then go and fight with my team as they're fighting these T's crossing. And even outside of utility, rifles are just better against smokes than pistols are. Because they have more bullets, they're just better at spamming smokes, right? If I hear a T crossing this way, this is a much more effective spam than this is. There's also the fact that you're pretty limited in terms of bullets with your USP, so spamming comes at the cost of fewer bullets for the actual fights that you're going to be taking once the smoke fades. So in a gun v gun round where I have a bunch of utility, I have a bunch of options on how I can counter the smoke. But in pistol round, where maybe I just buy armor and I come con and I peek mid, then I come back, I see the smoke, what can I do? I don't have an HE to nade it, I don't have flashes to go through it, right? I'm very limited in what I can do to counter the smoke. So while armor is incredibly strong on pistol rounds, so is utility. But there absolutely is a balance to it. If all 5 T's buy armor, then it's going to be pretty difficult to get onto a site without any smokes or flashes to help close space. If all 5 T's buy utility and upgraded pistols, then no one's going to want to entry, and a lot of that utility that's purchased is going to be pretty redundant. This already poses an interesting question of what's the balance, and we haven't even talked about upgraded pistols yet. Upgraded pistols are so strong because they reverse the strengths and weaknesses of each team's starting pistol. Now here's what I mean. Out of all the pistols, there are 2 that reign supreme as upgraded pistols on these pistol rounds. The P250 on T side and the dual Berettas on CT side. I would argue that the Dualies are a better version than the Glock, and the P250 is a slightly better version than the USP-S. However, they're not better enough to justify upgrading to over their starting pistol counterpart. On T side, spending $300 on dual Berettas just isn't worth it because you're getting a slight upgrade at pistol, but you're foregoing something very impactful such as armor or utility. And the exact same goes for CTs and P250s. It's just not worth the upgrade over the USP-S. However, when a CT gets Dualies, it completely changes the way they're able to approach the round. Now, instead of being at a huge disadvantage close range against Glocks, CTs have a 30 bullet close range killing machine. And for T's, buying a P250 now lets them take long range 1v1 duels that with a Glock would have been super disadvantageous. So essentially both teams have the option to buy the better version of the other team's starting pistol, but they have to forego armor or utility or a kit in exchange for that pistol. T's being able to one-tap CTs with P250s from range may sound broken, but we never see 5 T's with P250s in the pro scene, and we never see 5 CTs with Dualies. So where's the balance? So we've talked about the strengths and weaknesses of these different buys, armor, utility, upgraded pistols. What's the optimal mix? How many people on your team should have armor? How many should buy utility? How many should have an upgraded pistol? How do we figure this out? Okay. To investigate this mystery, I looked at 30 recent pro pistol rounds from tier 1 matches and what they bought. From this, I extracted some data, which then gave me more data, and now I'm going to share that day data with you. Now, the goal of this is to get a general feel for what pro teams are prioritizing on buying in their pistol rounds. This isn't a universal... It's 30 rounds. It's not that big of a sample size. It's not a universal, like, these are the rules. It's just a general, this is what's good. Let's start with T side. In terms of armor, there wasn't a single round where the T side didn't have either 3 or 4 players with armor. I'll say that again in a different way because this is very important. In every single one of those 30 pistol rounds, the T side never had a total of 0, 1, 2, or 5 players with armor. Not a single one. It was always 3 or 4. and it actually leaned more towards 3 with an average of 3.3 players having armor. The reason for this is that the T side needs some utility, especially smokes and flashes, to help them take a site. There was only one singular round where the Ts didn't buy at least one smoke, and this was a Na'Vi ramp rush on Nuke where Alexi naded Squeaky and then mollied into vent to prevent rotates down B. So in 29 out of 30 T pistol rounds, the T side had at least one smoke, and in 17 of these, the T side actually had 2 smokes, but there weren't any rounds where they had 3, 4, or 5. In only about 37% of rounds did the Ts buy a molly, and there wasn't a single instance of the Ts buying 2 or more in the same round. In the vast majority of rounds, 25 out of 30, the Ts had at least one flash. And more often than not, 15 out of 30 rounds, they had 2 or 3 flashes. Only 4 times did I see the Ts buy an HE grenade, and 3 of them were on Nuke, where nading door is incredibly important, pistol round or not. In terms of pistols, I saw the Ts buy an upgraded pistol on less than half of their rounds, just 13 out of 30. And in only one of these 30 rounds did the Ts buy more than one upgraded pistol. And by the way, the only pistol they upgraded to was the P250, not a single other one. So, that was fun. Conclusions for the T side. At least 3 players should have armor. Utility is almost nearly essential, especially smokes and flashes, but there's no need to overdo it. You should max the number of smokes on your team at 2 and a soft cap of 2 or 3 flashes. HE grenades are way less impactful and should really only be prioritized for nading the door open on Nuke. Upgraded pistols are a great option, but utility should take priority when forgoing armor. On really long-range maps such as Train or Dust, 2 P250s can be effective. Otherwise, just having one will do the job. I also saw, for the most part, it's not super important that the player who has the P250 also has armor. Because that player is going to be prioritizing long-range fights anyways, it's not super likely they're going to be body shot to death by a USP at a super long range. Now let's move on to what we can take away from the CT side. CTs leaned more armor heavy on these pistol rounds than the Ts did, with an average of 3.8 players having armor in the 30 rounds I watched. In 7 rounds, the CTs had 3 players with armor, and in 22 rounds, they had 4 players with armor, and only in 1 did the CTs have all 5 players with armor. Smokes were still somewhat common, but much less so than on T side. On 17 out of 30 rounds, the CTs had at least 1 smoke, and in only 4 of those rounds did they have 2 smokes. For all of you molly plus nade buy lovers on pistol round, get this. In these 30 rounds, the CTs did not buy a single incendiary grenade. Not one. Mollies are just less effective on pistol rounds due to the T's fast movement with pistols and a typically poppy play calling style, which can make it difficult to time a molly correctly. It's also just such a huge investment that it's hard to justify over other options. Instead of a molly, you can drop somebody dualies and buy a flash, which is much more likely to have impact than that one molly. What did surprise me is that in 28 out of 30 rounds, 93% of them, the CTs had at least 1 flashbang, which is actually a higher ratio than the Ts. This was often due to how buying with $800 works out on CT side. On many of these rounds, one CT would either buy 2 dualies and a flash, or dualies, a smoke, and a flash. With both of these buys, it feels like you just get a fun extra bonus flash to go along with the important stuff. Not that the pros don't actually have plans for how to use these flashes, but it's nice how the economy works out like that. You can tell that this is the case because in only 3 rounds the CTs had 2 flashes, and in all 3 of those rounds, there were only 3 CTs with armor. I was also surprised that in a little over a third of the rounds, the CTs bought HE grenades. In 4 of these 11 rounds, the HE was used or was intended to be used on connector door, on overpass, or on a smoke break, which means that there were only 7 rounds where an HE was bought for the purpose of doing damage. But here's a really important note for these damage-doing HEs. Not a single one, zip zilch nada, were thrown preemptively or on a timing. All 7 were thrown as a reaction to T utility or to sound cues. When we look at upgraded pistols, we get a really clear distinction between CT and T buying habits on pistol rounds. In 24 out of the 30 CT rounds we looked at, the CTs had at least one upgraded pistol. And guess which pistol was the only one the CTs would upgrade to? The Dualies. Pow, 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 pow. Yeah, the Dualies are really good on pistol round. I also didn't see a single instance where a CT would buy Dualies and not drop them to somebody with armor. Since the Dualies are used close range, it's much more important for them to have armor than it is for a player playing at range with a USP. Finally, let's talk about the most exciting and cool and fun thing you can buy on a pistol round, the kit. Believe it or not, CTs only bought a kit 3 times. That's just 10% of rounds we looked at. Part of the reasoning for this is that because utility is so scarce, Ts more often than not don't have any utility for post plants, which allows CTs to speed up into retakes quicker than they would on normal full buy rounds, thus reducing the value that a kit provides. As a CT, you're not going to be sitting behind a constantly re-smoked jungle on Mirage because the Ts just aren't likely to have the extra smokes on pistol round. Now that was a lot of data. Let's see what conclusions we can draw for the CT side. The first thing we could draw from this is that armor on CT side is just incredibly important. Pro teams average nearly 4 players per pistol round with armor. Smokes are somewhat common on CT side, but much less so than on T side. If you buy a smoke on CT, make sure you have a really good plan for how you're going to use it. Mollies are just too much of an investment on CT side. That doesn't mean you should never use them, but they're highly situational and come with a huge opportunity cost. Flashbangs were super common on CT side and were often bought alongside 2 upgraded pistols or an upgraded pistol and a smoke. HEs aren't a go-to option on CT pistol rounds, but can be really powerful when you have a plan for them. Whether you're nading Condor on overpass or you plan to break open a smoke such as the mid-door smoke on Dust, or you're throwing them for damage in reaction to T information. Dualies are incredibly meta and should be dropped to players with armor. Kits are somewhat out of the meta due to pistol rounds' gambling nature, the fact that retakes come in quicker, and that money is so valuable it could be spent elsewhere. Here's something really important too, and there's no background footage, so you have to lock in on me and what I'm saying. Do not save on pistol round. There is no reason to leave any money left behind except maybe not buying a decoy if you buy armor. There's no reason to leave money behind. That $800 on pistol round has so much value to you compared to $800 on any other round. We analyzed 300 individual buys in those 30 rounds, and not a single time did a player save any money. If they had $200 left, they bought a flash. If they had $300 left, they bought an upgraded pistol to drop to a teammate or a smoke, or they just bought armor, right? Nobody saved. Pistol round is so important, and you need every piece of utility. You need armor. You need anything you can have to ensure that you give yourself the best chance at winning that round. So please, always full buy on pistol round. Wow. I hope I didn't bore you with all of that DATA. But if you're a goober like me, then you probably found it a bit interesting. Tier 1 CS gives us a great outline and guide for what the meta is right now. But I'm assuming you're not playing Tier 1 CS and your teammates aren't Tier 1 player-worthy teammates. So here are some nice general rules to guide your buying habits in pistol rounds. T side first. Number 1, when in doubt, just buy armor. Number 2, if 2 players have already bought utility, just buy armor. Number 3, if you want to buy utility, make sure that you have a plan for it and your team knows that given plan. Our last rule, rule number 4, don't upgrade to any pistol aside from the P250. There you go. Simple, easy rules for T side. Let's move on to CT side. Rule number 1, this might be familiar. When in doubt, just buy armor. Rule number 2, if you don't buy armor and you want to buy utility, then avoid buying mollies. They're hard to throw at the right time and they're really hard to get that much value out of on pistol rounds. HEs can be quite good, but you have to have a very specific plan for them. You can't just buy them and then hope that you end up in a situation where it's going to be useful. And smokes can be effective to throw defensively or to block and execute. So the rule actually is buy utility with purpose. Don't just buy it to buy it. Rule number 3, dualies, dualies, dualies. Dualies are so good. They change the way pistol rounds are played. They're so darn good. Use dualies. Now, that's not really a rule, but I don't care. Maybe the rule is dualies are good. That's rule number 3. Dualies are good. Rule number 4, kits are not necessary. I think a lot of people play pistol rounds and think that the CT side has to have a kit. That's not true. They can be helpful if you're on one side of the map and your team is gambling the other side of the map, right? You know that if the T's come to your site, you're going to be playing for retake. However, even then, still not necessary. They can be good, but don't think that buying a kit is a rule. It's not. So there you go. There's the CT side rules. Those are a little silly and a little loose, but I think they painted a clear picture. Now, the theme throughout this entire segment has been opportunity cost. If you buy something, the cost of that is foregoing other things, right? If I buy a Tech 9 and an HE grenade on T-side pistol, the opportunity cost is I'm foregoing armor, or I'm foregoing a P250, a smoke, and a flash. And those things, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100 are going to bring me more value than that Tech 9 and HE grenade. So make sure that you are spending your money in a purposeful way, and if you're not buying armor, then whatever you buy has a clear purpose behind it. Okay, I think that gave us a lot of really good insight into what we should be buying on pistol rounds. What it also did is gave us some hints and clues into how pistol rounds should be played and how different they are from normal gun rounds. In team play, pistol round strats are almost always just set in stone. The strat is something that everyone on the team is familiar with, they've cracked it, and they've scrimmed it, and they feel good about it. And even if the pistol round strat is slower, maybe a bit looser, then there are some really clear protocols that come with it where if the CTs do X, then we're gonna respond with Y. Or if this kill happens, then we're going to take advantage of that by doing this thing or taking this space. Whereas in typical gun rounds, you can just play defaults and play them very flexible. The pistol round isn't a gun round. Defaulting is inherently disadvantageous for Ts on pistol round, and there are a few reasons for this. Number 1, in a default, you want to take or work space in multiple parts of the map, and without everyone on your team having utility to assist that, it makes it incredibly difficult. Number 2, the USP-S has an incredible range advantage against Glocks, which alongside the lack of util to close off long-range angles, makes defaulting really difficult for Ts since they'll often be forced into these long-range disadvantageous fights against USPs. And number 3, the pistol round is arguably the most important round in the game, so you really don't want to go into pistol rounds without a set strategy that you feel really confident in. Now, if we put on our CT player thinking caps, then how are we going to adjust strategically to what we just discussed from a T-side perspective? Because defaulting is inherently disadvantageous for Ts, we can assume that they will most likely not do that, and instead have, out of spawn, a set play in mind to hit one bomb site, which means that we're likely going to be facing either a rush, a pop, or an execute straight out of spawn. So to counter this, we have some options. Number 1, since we're expecting 5 Ts to hit a bomb site all at once, we can stack a site with more players and play for retake on the weaker site. Thus, we're gambling a little bit that it's going to be this certain site. Number 2, we could be aggressive and take some space at the beginning of the round in order to either get info that then lets us stack the correct site before it gets hit, or to catch Ts who are prepping for an exec on a bad timing for them, or even to snuff out lurks that are away from the actual site hit. And lastly, number 3, we can play a default that's a bit more site heavy while playing for info in the spaces that require a lot of utility for the Ts to take. Think about middle on Mirage. The cat player can focus towards apartments early rather than mid, and the con player can focus towards ramp or palace early rather than mid, while the window player just spots middle from window. So for both CTs and Ts, it's disadvantageous to play a pistol round just like how you would a gun round. So that's all from a macro point of view. How can you apply this to your own games and increase your pistol round win rate? Within your own pugs, your own games, it can be hugely beneficial if you have really easy pocket strats for pistol rounds on every map. These should be easy to communicate, should rely on you for the util. It makes it significantly easier to do strats when you buy the util and you throw the util. Here's a really easy pistol round strat you can run on Mirage. You're gonna ask a teammate to come with you ramp, and then you're gonna have 3 of your teammates go palace. They're gonna shift walk, you're gonna be quiet. Once they get up in palace and your teammate's closer to ramp, you get into this corner with these wood planks, make sure you're against the wall, crouch, aim where this horizontal one meets the vertical one. I remember it's this middle one, right here. While you're crouched, you're gonna left click jump throw, and then you're going to stand up, aim at this little gash right here in the middle as well, shift walk, and then left click jump throw your molly. There you get a jungle smoke, you get a stairs molly, you have 3 Ts swinging out palace, 1 person is swinging out ramp, and then you're coming to join them, and you're going to take CT control with your Glocks. This stairs molly, right, is going to prevent any CTs from playing here and fighting. It won't prevent somebody from being here, but the visibility is quite tricky. So, however, this is just a really easy one-man util set strat to run on Mirage. On Overpass, you can call really easy strat by asking all of your teammates, hey, go rush connector. After you say that, you're going to buy a P2, a smoke, and a flash, and then you're going to run to stairs right here, and you're just going to duel or spot for the CT who's checking party. If they're here and they're committing to the fight, then if you feel confident, try to take that fight, get the pick. If not, you could just distract. But the goal is the 4 people rushing con, get to top con, you take your flash out, and as they're, approaching the top of the stairs, you just run through your flash looking at this tree. The flash goes through the tree so you don't have to worry about it, and the flash will pop right about here. So anybody party, anybody divider, anybody back here is going to get full blind by this flash, and they'll have to fall off, letting your team scale. After you get the space, you can come out here, get into mid, pull your smoke out, and then aim right here where the railing meets the building, and then just left click jump throw, and that's your dumpster smoke. Bounce, bounce, and land right there. So you provide a little distraction, you try to keep a CT here playground or party who's just going to try to duel you, and then all of a sudden there's 4 Ts coming up here top con with a flash to help them. Bang, they get the pick, and then they flood into A site with the help of your dumpster smoke. Let's talk about a strat that involves some misdirection on Ancient. One really common pug strat you'll see is a red smoke followed by flashes for mid, and then the Ts will go 3 or 4 through mid, go into donut, and then one's gonna go A main, and they're gonna split A like that, right? I've seen it a million times. And so because it's so common, this smoke and this flash just rings bells in people's heads saying, hey, they're gonna do that A split. So instead of doing that, what you can call is, hey, 2 people go out elbow with my util, but 2 people go towards ramp. And these 2 players are going to lurk up ramp on the timing of those 2 players running out mid and fighting donut. So these guys are gonna walk up and look for a pick on B, and once they get that pick, then they're going to take space, and they're going to take this long space and hopefully get bombed down. These 2 players mid, after you throw this util for them, they're going to jump up onto boxes, and they're going to fight what probably will be a cave player rotating through here, or they just get that space for free if the cave player rotated through CT. So altogether, it looks like you communicate that, hey, 2 players go through mid, 2 players walk up ramp, you're going to come here against the right side, this stone, aim at this chip in the third one, 1, 2, 3, right here, left click jump throw. After that, you're going to come to the left side, and then you're going to shift walk, aim at the trunk where it meets this like patterned. Just shift walk, left click that flash, bang. These 2 players, they swing, they can duel here if they want to, and you can even drop one of them a P250, or drop one of the B lurks a P250, or you keep the P250, or buy double flash, whatever you want. That's kind of a free little bit of money for you to use. And then bang, now we're going towards B. So subverting expectations by faking a really common pug strat can be quite strong. In terms of positioning and strategy on CT side, the best habit that you can get into is thinking about and communicating exactly what you're going to do at the start of the round. This often translates to putting yourself in a good setup with your teammate or teammates on the bomb site. You don't have to be responsible for a perfect 5-man setup. Just make sure that you and the teammates near you are on the same page. For example here, Madger boosts Joda onto Balk and then holds a flash and a nade for him to fight apartments. You can also coordinate stacks like how Vitality stack 4 men brackets in this clip. You could drop dualies and get into a high-low setup with a teammate. Or you can play info on the other side of the map, prioritizing your life rather than getting kills. Whatever your plan is, avoid putting yourself in a position where you could get run over by mini-Ts without any help from your teammates. Now, if you do want to coordinate something with your entire team, think about it in terms of what space you guys are fighting for. In this clip, Furia pools their resources towards middle, with Yakindar spotting ramp and palace. Or this example that we looked at earlier where M80 focus on long at the start of the round. So many rounds on CT pistol are lost because people play them in a very predictable way that's just like gun rounds, and don't take any initiative or fight for any space. You can have a huge impact on these rounds just by communicating and setting up a really simple play with your teammates. Finally, we can talk about how you should be using pistols in these gunfights to be getting kills and staying alive. To make use of the Glock effectively, you really need to focus on closing space and making use of its high running accuracy. Close range, the Glock has a really big advantage over USPs, because if I'm right here against a player with a USP, I can one-tap them, they can one-tap me, but I have 20 bullets, they have 12, my gun shoots faster than theirs, and my running accuracy is significantly higher than theirs. So close range, huge advantage with the Glock, right? Which translates to, if we're going out apps on Mirage and I'm trying to entry onto the site, if I stop here and take this fight, this is an advantageous fight for the USP. So instead of that, I can jump out the window, cross this way, and then fight the CT right here. And with the Glock, because the running accuracy is so good, I can keep going and just tap like that, right? I hit them twice for headshots. That's making space. That's forcing a CT to either duck and focus solely on me, or to be, either killed by me or traded by one of my teammates coming through apps. With the Glock, if you're really close range, like here, spamming totally good. But once you get out into this kind of range, you really want to focus on just tapping. You can spam from here for sure, but it's just more random. You want to rely on taps because it's just going to be more consistent, right? So tap, 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 and you can make use of that running accuracy like we talked about by just strafing back and forth. Obviously, you're going to be perfectly accurate at the, I don't know if you'd call it the apex, but right when you stop and then go the other way, right? That's when you're going to be perfectly accurate because your velocity is essentially 0, but you can still hit shots in between just because that running accuracy is still so good. When you're forced into longer range fights with the Glock, because you're at a disadvantage just gun to gun, right? They have a USP, they have the advantage. You need to make up for that disadvantage with your movement. So instead of coming out here and just crouching and just taking the fight like this, I'm going to be moving. I'm going to be tapping crouch, right? Moving left, right, left, right, left, right. Trying to be really hard for them to hit and giving myself plenty of opportunities to tap, 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 tap. I have 20 bullets. I don't have to worry about ammo that much. They do, right? So I'm going to use my movement back and forth, tapping crouch, avoid committing to crouch unless you're just ducking behind a piece of cover, right? I can do that. I can do this. But in general, you just want to be constantly moving side to side, make it really hard for them to hit you. Let's talk about burst mode with the Glock because it's an interesting option. However, it's pretty situational. You don't want to be out in the open fighting somebody with burst mode because of that long reset time that it takes. You'd much rather be able to just shoot your normal bullets. However, where burst mode can be quite good is if you're close range and you have cover and you can peek and then duck back in, right? Peek, burst, duck back, peek, burst, duck back. That's where burst mode can actually have some good utility, and you especially don't want to be in burst mode if you could be fighting multiple CTs at once, right? I have the ability on normal fire mode to do this, right? I could just kill them both super quickly, but burst, I'm hampered by this reset time that I have to go burst, burst. In that amount of time, I could just die to the second CT. So if you're ever fighting multiple CTs, never do burst mode. You want to use your movement and have that versatility of just shooting singular bullets. Something that can be quite good to do with the Glock against USPs is tapping crouch into peeks. That's because USPs, they're always going to be very focused on hitting headshots. And so if you peek and you tap crouch, you might just duck under their crosshair and get past it. And then bang, they shot their first bullet, they missed, and then your turn, you headshot them, right? Using crouch effectively is really important as long as you're not committing to it, especially close range, right? If I'm long range and I gush this guy, then crouching and just making sure I hit 1, 2, 1, 2, into their body to finish them off, that can be fine because I know I have a really low time to kill after I get that headshot. However, if I don't hit the headshot initially and I just commit into crouching into this fight, they should just win it, right? They need one shot to the head. I need 2 or a shot to the head and then some body shots. With the P250, you really want to focus on taking long-range isolated duels that the CTs may not be expecting. This could either be going for a pick at the beginning of the round, as we see Zywoo does here, expecting a CT garage player to maybe duel him. His presence also allows for his teammate to cross towards Africa. I don't know why we call it that in NA, a really strong lurk position. The P2 can also be used really effectively for contacting a space. Contacting is something really common in T pistol round strats. This is where the Ts will withhold information and then probe for a pick on a CT or just take space up until the moment that they take contact with the CT, and then they'll flood and be loud and take that space fast once their presence is known. The P250, because it can evenly duel with a USP-S at range, is much better at doing this than a Glock. Another good use of the P2 is to have it on the 3rd or 4th person in on an execute. This allows for the Glocks, the first 2 or 3 people, to go out, take space, and find the CTs, and for the P250 player to focus on killing the CTs distracted by the Glocks. In terms of using the P250 mechanically, it's incredibly similar to the USP-S, which we'll talk about next. There are a lot of different things that you need to focus on to be good with the USP-S. One huge major thing is plane cover. Because of what we looked at in the macro, whenever you're a CT and you're holding a site, you're most likely going to be facing 4 or 5 Ts running at you. Playing cover is highly important because you want to try to isolate long-range fights. And if you can isolate long-range fights, then what you really need to focus on mechanically are good strafes, because the USP-S running accuracy is really bad, so you can't get away with bad strafes. You have to be good strafes and shooting at the end of those strafes, or crouching into fights. Now, that may seem like bad advice, crouching into a fight, why would I commit to a crouch? Like we looked at on T side with the Glock, if you're 1v1 against a T with a Glock and you crouch into the fight, you just have to hit 1 headshot. They have to hit either 2 headshots or a headshot plus body shots. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying you should sit here crouched and just take every fight like this. If 5 Ts run out of ramp and I'm just sitting here crouched and I'm not moving, they should kill me, right? But when you do have a long-range isolated fight, make use of crouch slides. You're still fully accurate while you're sliding and crouching, and you're still going to be moving on their screen, but your aim's going to be slightly easier because you're not having to manage, strafing and counter strafing and adjusting your crosshair with your movement. The other aspect to this is being careful and selective with your bullets, right? If 5 Ts run out ramp and I go like this and I panic, then I have to reload, fall back, and then that grants Ts a bunch of space because now they can just push while I'm reloading, right? I can't fight during that time. So being selective with your bullets, right? Not trying to spam long range and maintaining an idea of how many bullets you have left is really important, because you want to make use of every single one. You can certainly play more committal positions on CT side with the USP-S, such as sandwich or under balk. The really important part of this is that you have somebody to help you to use a crossfire with, right? If I'm sandwich and somebody's playing firebox, then they can spot right here and see if anybody's crossing and then just bait for me. So then when a T is coming this way, right, they're focused on me, and then, well, they're focused on my teammate, and then I'm here in sandwich, I can just shoot them in the back of the head. So using teammates as like diversions when you're playing a more committed position is the way that you don't just get insta-cleared and insta-die. So the general big important thing with the USP-S is that you need to be kind of calm with it. You can't panic with it. Your movement needs to be clean, right? Your counter strafes have to be nice or else you're going to be inaccurate. Your crouches have to be purposeful. You can't be all over the place with it. And you have to really visualize and have good crosshair placement with the USP, because you don't have the excess bullets to just be missing a bunch of shots, right? You really have to prioritize hitting headshots, and hitting headshots in as few bullets as possible, and that translates to good crosshair placement and good visualization. The dualies are incredibly fun and so strong because now you can play CT side as if you're a T, right? You can peek, you can push, you can be aggressive, and you can take close range fights. When you're playing like really committed positions with the dualies, such as underbalk, sandwich, or top balk, like we talked about with the USP, it can be really beneficial and really strong for you to have a buddy, another CT with a USP-S playing a long range angle, right? Somebody CT to help me, maybe somebody jungle as long as they don't smoke jungle. But if I can distract and keep T's attention, that makes the job for my teammates with their USP's long range super easy, because now they don't have to worry about dodging bullets or being shot at. They can just focus on killing the T's that are hard focused on killing me. So if I'm here under balk, I can do big wide swings and use my spray, those 30 bullets I have, while I'm moving, right? You're still super accurate while you're moving with the dualies, and you want to make sure that you're never just like static like this, right? You always want to be moving, tapping crouch, being dynamic, being hard to hit, and trying to stay alive, especially in these situations where you have teammates further away trying to help you out. If I peek and kill one, then I can tuck and wait, and then that allows my teammates to kill the T's as they're crossing this way trying to get me out of this spot. Dualies allow you to really subvert expectations, right? T's are expecting long range fights, you guys playing cover. They're not necessarily always expecting somebody close to a choke point with 2 little pistols and 30 bullets. Use that, right? Play close range angles, do unexpected things. Hard clear ramp if you feel like it's going to be an A hit. You can do it silently, right? Sneak up. T's are going to be way less diligent about holding choke points before they're about to execute, because subverting expectations, right? So you can find a lot of kills by getting dropped dualies and slow pushing areas of the map for info, and either you run into T's who are about to execute who aren't expecting you to push, or you run into nothing, and that's amazing info because now you know, okay, it's probably going to come to the other side of the map. Goober, I would like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, check out some of my other videos, drop a like on this one, comment, share it with your friends, anything you can do to help me, I would really appreciate it. Shout out to my channel members here on YouTube. You should consider becoming one. They support me and allow me to be a goober on the internet. Thank you guys, I appreciate it a ton. They're scrolling right over there, right there, okay? Have a great day. Thank you so much, and good luck and have fun in all of your future games. Peace out.